on why I've refused delays in other elections. These ones are specifically put in place because we believe that they can deliver for the reorganisation, for their area, for better services within a very tight timescale.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Dictators cancel elections, not democracy. Dictators. 5.5 million voters in southern England are being denied the right to pass judgment on the performance of their councillors over the last 4 years. Interestingly, in areas where Reform UK are expected to do rather well. In cancelling these elections, Secretary of State, in cancelling them, you've admitted, the Secretary of State has admitted she doesn't know what will replace them. So it seems to me there is a serious risk, as previously mentioned, of not being ready in 12 months' time, in which case, can the Secretary of State be crystal clear what happens? Are they delayed a further year, or will they go ahead in May 2026?
Secretary of State.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, just kindly, when the member talks about dictators, it's Reform leader that hasn't faced and elected to get to his leadership position, but the only one that hasn't. And I say to the honourable member as well, look, we're not cancelling election. I've been really clear on the rationale, which is not unique. It's not something that hasn't been done before. It's for reorganisation. It's for further devolution, so people in that local area will get more powers from this government, which is what we promised through our manifesto, and we will continue to deliver for people. I've got a very strict and narrow guidance on why I allowed those areas to delay their elections, and I'm confident that they will be able to deliver. That's why I refused others. I've been very acutely aware that we want to make sure that people have a say in their local areas. This is what the devolution agenda is all about, giving local people more say and more powers.
Freddie Van Mierlo.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. May I refer the House to my register of interests? It's fair to say in the streets of Henley and Tame, strategic mayoral authorities were not on the lips of residents during the general election. Health was, and the absolutely dire situation that the Conservatives left in my constituency. There is still perhaps a crumb of opportunity in this reorganisation in realigning authorities with ICBs so that we're avoiding issues where constituents can't get services on other borders. Is that something that is being taken into account?
Secretary of State.
Well, I say to the honourable member that whilst the exact wording of devolution might not have been on the lips, but change was on the lips of people, and that's why we got the mandate that we did. And he talked about health. We put £22 billion extra investment into our NHS because we recognise the challenges that they face, and ICBs are part of the devolution bill and are part of the white paper, and we'll continue to work to ensure that mayors have a say over what happens there.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I refer the House to my register of interest, and I'd like to thank the Secretary of State for answering so many questions in this statement this afternoon. You've been on your feet. She's been on her feet for quite some time. I'm dismayed by the delay to elections in West Sussex. And one reason is that when the District of Mid Sussex recently went through a reorganisation of its ward boundaries, that took nearly 2 years to complete. Unitary authorities are larger entities, and it's an enormous task, especially given the scope of South and the East of England that has been announced today. What assessment has the Secretary of State made as to the LGBCE's capacity to deliver those boundary reviews? And can she expand on the financial support that will be given to councils to ensure that they can make sure they're able to merge vital public services?
Yeah. Secretary of State.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I hope that my lunch is delayed and not cancelled. The issue around the elections, the delay in elections, again, I've been really clear on the high bar that I set, and I absolutely understand the enormous tasks that face when you're looking at reorganisation. That's why we will put extra support in place. I can't outline exactly what that will be for her particular area because they will come forward. It depends on a case-by-case basis what they need, but this government is committed to working with them to meet that timetable. I've been really clear at the dispatch box today that we want to see those elections go ahead in May 2026, and that is the basis on which we'll be working towards, and that my department will be working with the local leaders to deliver, and that is on the basis that they know the delay was happening.
The final question, Caroline Burden.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I would like to thank the Secretary of State for her statement today, and also thank her on behalf of all the people in my constituency for giving them the opportunity to vote and give their verdict on the failing Conservative-run Devon County Council, which has been so badly failing our most vulnerable children for the past decade. So I welcome that. Devon is a huge rural area, and there are concerns that becoming a unitary could end up devolving power away from people in what is a very sparsely populated area, so moving the centre of power away from local communities, which doesn't really feel like devolution. So could I ask the Secretary of State to clarify where she is on what size of unitary authority you'll be looking for? And also, as part of Torbay is also in my constituency, one of the smallest unitaries in the country with 139,000 people, will it be allowed to continue as a unitary, or will it be required to be part of a greater whole? Thank you.
Secretary of State.
Well, again, I do recognise that Devon is a huge rural area, and I hope in the comments that I've made previously in the debate that we've had on this statement, Madam Deputy Speaker, that we have issued a guide for unitary. It is a guide, though. I've said it's not set in stone, and I do recognise that Torbay, the unitary that it is now, but there are also the challenges that are faced there. So therefore, I want to work with local leaders. If they want to expand, we want to facilitate that. We want to deliver, and our guiding principle is better public services that are responsive to local people's needs. And I believe that members across this House want to deliver the same. So therefore, hopefully working with us, we can give investment that public services have not had for the last 14 years, and we can deliver it in the right way, in the right place, that people feel it's responsive to their local needs. Yeah.
That concludes this statement. I'll now move on to the next statement and give a few moments for the front benches to swap over. Statement, Minister Dan Jarvis.
With permission, Madam Deputy Speaker, I will make a statement updating the House on the Government's response to the Southport murders. The attack in Southport in July last year was one of the most appalling and barbaric crimes committed in this country. For young children and adults to be attacked in this way and 3 young girls killed is utterly heartbreaking. Home Secretary and I would like to thank those people who showed great bravery in attempting to stop the attack. For this foul act of violence to happen while children were enjoying themselves at a dance class at the beginning of the school holidays is beyond comprehension. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the 3 girls and all those injured as they continue to live with the trauma of that dark day. No one should have to go through what they have, and we are steadfast in our commitment to ensuring that they get every possible support. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, responsibility for this abhorrent attack lies with the perpetrator. Axel Ridicabana has been sentenced to life imprisonment. He will serve a minimum of 52 years in prison, and Mr Justice Goose said it is highly likely that he will never be released. When the Home Secretary addressed the House on this case last month, she outlined the multiple interactions the perpetrator had with state bodies in the years before the attack. This included police, social services and mental health services. There are serious questions about how various agencies failed to identify and collectively act on the warning signs. All those questions must be answered. We owe that to the families who deserve the truth about what went wrong. That is why the Government is committed to understanding and addressing the failings in this tragic case through a comprehensive public inquiry. It will examine the issues raised in this case, but also wider challenges around rising youth violence. We are moving swiftly to set up the inquiry. We will consult the families to ensure all critical issues are addressed, while remaining sensitive to the needs of those most affected. We expect to announce further details about the inquiry next month. While we do not preempt the conclusions of the inquiry, there